So if you're talking about performance, then I think that like in season sort of peak performance, you don't necessarily want to be fasting because these guys have a very, very high caloric sort of need. So fasting is going to make it very difficult to get that in season. When you're off season, you're trying to maximize sort of regeneration and sort of maintenance, and that's when you're going to do it. So if you're talking about, you know, applying it, and this is where having sort of a deep understanding of the fasting physiology is that you can do two things. If you're a recreational athlete, then one of the things that we try to do is something called training in the fasted state, where you take advantage of these changes in hormones that you get with fasting. So if you fast for say 24 hours and then you work out, then what happens is, of course, you're training your body to use fat as a fuel, which is good if you're trying to burn fat. But you've also got an increase in catecholamines, which is this, so this is this counter-regulatory hormone change. You have this predictable lowering of insulin, but increasing sympathetic tone, which is your fight or flight response. So you've got noradrenaline going up and catecholamines going up. So that's going to make you able to work out harder, actually. And this is something that Georges St-Pierre, the mixed martial artist, talked about a lot when he was doing a lot of fasting. And he's one of these top-end athletes. He was saying that when he fasted, what he noticed was two things. One is that he was zoned in a lot more, and he could actually, he felt a lot stronger, and his mental concentration was a lot better, which is important in mixed martial arts. And the thing about it is, I always say, well, think about the hungry wolf versus the lion that just ate, right? Which one would you rather face? Well, you don't want to face that hungry wolf because he's keyed up, he's zoned in, and that's what you want to do when you do the training in the fasted state. So the increase in catecholamines is what you get in it. The second part of the fasting that's really beneficial for recreational level athletes is this increase in growth hormone, because after you fast and then you work out and then you eat, what you're going to do is you're just going to have all this growth hormone. So you're going to be able to repair faster. So you're going to be able to train harder and recover faster, which is a huge advantage. But if you're looking for peak performance, then it's difficult to do that sometimes. So some people will sort of just use low carb diets, or they'll use whatever. And you see more professional athletes doing low carb. And that's where low carb diets may be much more advantageous, because you're getting sort of 80% of the way there with fasting without actually fasting, because you need those calories. You know, this is what Tim Noakes talked about. You had this whole change from the 80s where it was all about energy drinks, sugar, and carb loading, and I used to do triathlon in my high school and early days. It's like, I remember eating huge plates of pasta the night before a race. And it was like,
when you go back in the history of carb loading, so it comes out of the Scandinavian cross-country skiing world. And until the 70s or 80s, it was basically you trained all year long on low carb. Okay, and then you carb loaded just the day before the race, but then that whole idea of carb loading for marathon runners got popular, and suddenly it's like, well, doing it the night before the race is good, doing it every day is surely better. And then you end up with, an obese environment.